nervous energy of 300 manufacturing executives pretending they weren't worried about their declining profits. I adjusted my Chanel suit paid for with my first million, and checked my phone one last time. Market update. Davidson Manufacturing down 12% this quarter. I smiled, tucking the phone away. Davidson Manufacturing, my family's company, my father's pride and joy, and the business he deemed me not cut out for 5 years ago. The same business that was now hemorrhaging clients to my startup, Nova Industries. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats for the American Manufacturing Excellence Awards. Through the crowd, I spotted them, my father Richard Davidson, my brother James, and their executive team, all clustered around their usual table near the stage. They hadn't noticed me yet, too busy whispering among themselves about their latest crisis. Ms. Roberts. My assistant Lisa appeared at my elbow. The press wants to confirm your availability for photos after the ceremony, especially with the new market share numbers. Tell them I'll be happy to discuss Nova's growth, I replied, watching my father's face as he studied the evening's program. The moment he reached the nominees list, his shoulders stiffened. 5 years ago, I sat in his office, armed with a detailed proposal to modernize Davidson Manufacturing. I'd spent 2 years developing it, working my way up from the factory floor, learning every aspect of the business. The presentation outlined everything: digital integration, automated production lines, sustainable materials, everything they needed to stay competitive. This isn't how we do things, he'd said, barely glancing at my research. Davidson Manufacturing is built on tradition, not trendy tech solutions. The next day he announced James as the new CEO. My brother, who'd never spent a day on the production floor, who couldn't tell a CNC machine from a conveyor belt, would lead the company into the future. Innovation is overrated, James had smirked at the press conference. We're staying true to our roots. Now, watching them huddle around their table, those words hung heavy in the air. Davidson's stock had dropped 47% since James took over. Meanwhile, Nova Industries had captured 30% of the market in just 4 years. Welcome to the 50th Annual Manufacturing Excellence Awards. The MC's voice boomed through the ballroom. Tonight we celebrate innovation, growth, and the future of American manufacturing. I took my seat at the front table, the one reserved for major nominees. Through the corner of my eye, I saw my father finally spot me. His face went through a complex series of emotions: shock, anger, and finally fear. He knew what was coming. The first awards were predictable: safety records, environmental initiatives, community impact. Davidson Manufacturing didn't make the shortlist for any of them. Their traditional methods hadn't aged well in a world demanding sustainability and social responsibility. And now, the MC paused for dramatic effect, the moment we've all been waiting for. The Entrepreneur of the Year Award, recognizing outstanding innovation and market leadership. My phone buzzed silently, another market update. Davidson's stock had dropped another 2% during dinner. This year's nominee list includes some of the most dynamic leaders in our industry, the MC continued. But one stands out. In just 4 years, they've revolutionized manufacturing processes, captured significant market share, and set new standards for sustainable production. I could feel my father's eyes burning into my back. James was gripping his water glass so hard his knuckles had turned white. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in congratulating our Entrepreneur of the Year, Sarah Davidson Roberts, CEO of Nova Industries. The applause echoed through the ballroom as I made my way to the stage, each click of my heels a reminder of how far I'd come from the factory floor. As I passed my family's table, I caught fragments of their whispered panic. "This can't be happening," James hissed. "She's destroying everything we built," my father muttered. "Sir, the Jackson contract just called." Their CFO whispered urgently. I took my place at the podium, accepting the Crystal Award that validated everything they'd dismissed. The spotlights were warm, but not as warm as the satisfaction of seeing their faces in the front row. "Thank you," I began, my voice steady. 5 years ago I learned an important lesson about manufacturing. I learned that innovation isn't just about new machines or better processes. It's about having the courage to break from tradition when tradition stops working. My father shifted uncomfortably in his seat. He recognized the words. They were from my rejected proposal. At Nova Industries, we didn't just build a manufacturing company. We built a new way of thinking about production. while others clung to outdated methods. I paused, making brief eye contact with James. We embraced change. We listened to our workers, invested in sustainability, and put quality above quarterly profits. The audience was silent, hanging on every word. They all knew the story, the industry's golden girl who'd struck out on her own and revolutionized the game. Our first factory wasn't much, I continued. Just a leased warehouse and second-hand equipment. But we had something more valuable than state-of-the-art machinery. We had vision. My phone vibrated in my clutch, probably another market update, another piece of bad news for Davidson Manufacturing. I didn't need to check it. I could read the news in James's clenched jaw. Today, Nova Industries operates 6 fully automated facilities. Our worker satisfaction rates are the highest in the industry. Our environmental impact is 70% lower than traditional manufacturers. And our quality metrics. I smiled directly at my father, speak for themselves. The screens behind me lit up with comparison charts, Nova's growth versus industry standards. The steep red line of our ascent stood in stark contrast to the declining blue line of traditional manufacturers. I didn't need to label Davidson's line specifically. Everyone knew which company had fallen the furthest. But this award isn't just about business success, I said, softening my tone. It's about proving that sometimes the best way to honor a tradition is to reimagine it. That sometimes those who are not cut out for the old way are exactly who you need to build something new. James was now furiously typing on his phone, probably trying to damage control with their investors, who would certainly be watching this broadcast. So thank you for this recognition. And a special thank you to those who taught me that sometimes closed doors lead to better opportunities. That sometimes being told, no, is the beginning of creating something extraordinary. The applause was thunderous as I left the stage. As I passed the Davidson Manufacturing table again, I heard my father's phone ring. From his expression, I knew it was another client calling to jump ship. Lisa met me at my table with a tablet displaying the latest numbers. Nova stock is up 8% just from your speech. And the Jackson contract. Let me guess, I smiled. They're finally ready to sign. The afterparty was in full swing when James cornered me by the champagne fountain. His perfect suit couldn't hide the desperation in his eyes. You planned this, he accused, keeping his voice low. All of it. The award, the timing, the Jackson contract. I sipped my champagne, a vintage more expensive than my first car. Plan what, exactly? Building a better company? Proving that innovation matters? Or just succeeding despite our family's best efforts to stop me? You're killing Davidson Manufacturing. No, I corrected, setting down my glass. You and Dad are killing it. I'm just building something better from the ashes you created. Our father appeared behind James, his face ashen. Sir, we need to talk. Privately. I checked my phone, 3 missed calls from Lisa. Actually, I have a rather important announcement to make. You might want to stick around for it. Before they could respond, I made my way to the small stage where the band was playing. The MC handed me the microphone with a knowing smile. He'd been briefed. Ladies and gentlemen, I called out, watching the room fall silent. I hope you'll forgive one more speech tonight. But I have an announcement that couldn't wait until morning. The crowd gathered closer. Industry reporters pulled out their phones, sensing something big. 5 years ago, I started Nova Industries with a vision of what modern manufacturing could be. Tonight, I'm proud to announce our biggest step yet toward that future. I paused, finding my father's eyes in the crowd. Nova Industries has just acquired controlling interest in the Williams Technology Group. The room erupted in murmurs. Williams Technology was the industry's leading automation company, and Davidson Manufacturing's last hope for modernization. This acquisition means Nova will now control over 40% of the automated manufacturing market in North America. I smiled as cameras flashed. And we're not stopping there. James was frantically whispering to their CFO, who looked ready to faint. They knew what was coming. As part of this expansion, Nova Industries is launching a new division focused on retrofitting traditional manufacturing facilities with modern automation systems. We're calling it the Future Forward Initiative. I watched my father grab the back of a chair for support. Companies stuck in outdated production methods can now transition to modern systems with Nova's help. We'll even offer generous financing terms for those struggling with declining market share. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Davidson Manufacturing had been trying to secure financing for modernization for months, but their falling stock price made them too risky for traditional lenders. And to demonstrate our commitment to industry-wide innovation, I continued, I'm announcing our first partnership under this initiative. Nova Industries has reached an agreement to acquire a controlling stake in Davidson Manufacturing. The room exploded in chaos. Reporters shouted questions. Executives gasped. My father stumbled backward, nearly knocking over a waiter. The paperwork was finalized during dinner, I explained, my voice carrying over the commotion. Davidson's board approved the deal 20 minutes ago. As of midnight tonight, Nova Industries will begin implementing our modernization protocol across all Davidson facilities. James pushed through the crowd toward the stage, but my security, smoothly blocked his path. To the Davidson Manufacturing employees watching this broadcast, I added, knowing it was being streamed live to all their facilities, let me be clear, your jobs are secure. In fact, under Nova's management, you'll receive better benefits, higher wages, and actual training on the modern equipment we'll be installing. The applause was immediate and overwhelming. Davidson's workers had been begging for updates and training for years. And to the Davidson family, I looked directly at my father and brother. Thank you for teaching me the most valuable lesson in business. Sometimes being told you're not good enough is the motivation you need to become better than anyone imagined. As I left the stage, Lisa appeared with a tablet showing real-time market reactions. Nova's stock was soaring. Davidson's remaining shareholders were celebrating their unexpected salvation. My father caught up to me by the exit. Why? He asked, his voice breaking. Why not just let us fail? I turned to face him, thinking about the girl who'd once idolized him, who'd learned every inch of his factory floor hoping to make him proud. Because you were right about one thing, I said softly. I wasn't cut out for your way of doing business. I was meant for something bigger. The room had started to clear out, executives hurrying to call their offices about the industry-shaking news. James stood alone by the Davidson table, staring at their company logo one last time before it would be replaced with Nova's rising star. The transition team will be at the factory tomorrow morning, I told my father. I suggest you and James take some time off. Consider it a forced vacation, something you never allowed your workers. And what about the Davidson name? He asked. Our legacy? I smiled, reaching into my clutch for one final document. Check the acquisition terms. Nova Industries is just a trading name. The parent company's legal name is Sarah Davidson Enterprises. I never gave up our name, I just gave it the future it deserved. As I walked out into the night, my phone buzzed with congratulations from around the world. Industry leaders, investors, and former Davidson employees who joined Nova over the years all celebrated the poetic justice of the moment. But the message that meant the most was from an unknown number. I worked the factory floor with you 5 years ago. You remembered all our names, listened to our ideas. Tonight, when you announced the acquisition, our whole shift cheered. Welcome home, boss. Sometimes success isn't just about